got a tip, there's no debate. I know a gent that'll set you straight. It's Vinny Valentine. Good fellow who's got what it takes. A New Yorker to make no mistake. It's Vinny Valentine. And if you're feeling real blue, call on Vinny. He's gonna tell you who's better than you. Elizabeth Street, Little Italy. Hangs with his pals, yeah, that's where he'll be. It's Vinny, a friend of mine. Stand-up guy from the Lower East Side. Take it from me, he's one of a kind. It's Vinny Valentine. Who's better than you?
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. I am Carisa Clark. I am here with you. Say hello. Hope that you had a wonderful holiday. I love the holiday. It's like my favorite time of the year. I really hope you've enjoyed yourself. I had the most wonderful guest. He is such a dear friend of mine, and this has been a long time coming. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Howe. So say hello to everybody.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Hi.
And we've known each other for a very long time. And when I think of you in particular, I think of the uniqueness and the melting pot quality that Manhattan has. You know, that I think what makes us all uniquely ourselves. He has the coolest story. I mean, he really, really does. And we've been friends for a very long time. And he's wonderfully talented. He does sing. He's a part of a band. He will be performing for you a little bit later. But I just think he's so worth sitting down and talking to. So, nonetheless, do you want to tell everyone how we met each other? We met each other. We actually, we were servers in this wonderful restaurant.
Yes.
It's, we laugh because
a very wonderful restaurant.
A little sarcasm.
That's what we're going to say.
And you know what? I didn't last there very long because I didn't belong there. Like, right? I didn't belong there.
No, you did not belong there.
And I sincerely
You're one
think.
of a kind.
Oh well,
one
thank
of
you.
a kind.
I sincerely think that the reason that I actually showed up working at this restaurant, that will not be mentioned because it doesn't matter, is to meet you. I'm convinced of that because
agree,
nothing
100%.
else there worked out for me. I'm a very good server back in the day when I served.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what is it, like that square peg in a round hole?
Yes,
Like I just didn't belong there.
Yeah.
But here was wonderful Paul, like just totally amazing.
Well, one thing I would like to say about that is that you are so heart-oriented, and that place is so prickly, and so filled with people who were they're headhunters. I mean, they were there for the specific purpose of making money, and whether it meant walking over you or throwing you, to the lions to make that happen, they were going to do that.
Yeah.
And you were such a caring person, and that place cannot handle a caring person. So of course it makes sense that you didn't fit there.
No, I was just one day never put back on the schedule. Remember?
It's a little subtle hint.
Subtle hint, and they were right, because I think there's something to be said that I had stuck around for a little bit longer because a friend of mine got me the job. So I felt like I had to try harder or stay there longer. But I knew it wasn't right, and you actually went into my locker and got my things for me.
Oh,
I sent you in there to get my things. I guess we had a co-ed locker. I don't know how you ended up in there. I don't remember. Like, go in there and get my thing.
We were joined.
But we've been very, very good friends for a long time. And I think a lot of our quality time spent together is we love restaurants. We love restaurants all over the city, particularly French restaurants. We tend to go French, but not always. Alphabet City, anywhere in Chelsea, Meatpacking District. I mean, really anywhere.
Wow, we went to,
And we would go and we'd sit down and we'd eat for 5 hours, right?
Yes, our conversations were epic.
Yeah.
Epic. We were trying to figure out the answer to the univer's.
Yeah.
And sometimes we were close.
Sometimes we were close.
We were very close.
And sometimes, do you ever find that you have friends that you it's very serendipitous. It just comes together.
Yes. I think our type of friendship for me is what often people talk about, the few friends that you have in your life, the few true friends. I think the word friend can be defined in a lot of different ways, and depending on how broad it is, it can have a lot or you can have a little. We use the same word, but I think they're it's just by design that you can only meet a certain amount of people, and that you can only have a certain amount of time in your life to offer. You can't love 1,000 people.
No, of course not.
Even though you'd like to, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Or to be able to give anyone that kind of attention.
Yes.
And time.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and for me personally, like I enjoy giving gifts. I love receiving them. That's a very nice thing to do. But I actually don't need the tangible material things. I really appreciate when someone dedicates their time to me.
That's right.
If you're going to sit down and say, yes, I have a few hours to have a wonderful conversation and let's break some bread together, you know, and share some food. We like to share our food. We do share our food. We're sharers.
Well, you know,
I
love that. I love that.
We do. We kind of split everything in half, and we like to just kind of eat, you know?
Well, it's interesting for me because for me, my eating style comes from my Korean culture, and in people who have like eaten Korean food, like you share things. It's constantly sharing what's at the table, and then you have your little plate and you put a little bit of what's around, and so I'm so used to that when I go to restaurants, in the States, and I naturally want to do that. It's just it's so easy for me. But I don't really find people that often who actually want to do that with me.
So you're like, oh, sweet.
They just want
she
their
wants to break
plate.
bread.
Yeah. They just want their plate. You got your plate. I got mine.
Yeah.
We'll just keep it like that. They're pretty happy with that. So to find a good friend, who has these like quirks like me, makes it all the more special.
I'm a little quirky.
You're a little quirky, yes, in the best way possible.
Ah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So, well, tell me more. I mean, you have such a amazing story. I think you're just so interesting. Oh, sorry.
No,
I like stepping on his feet under the table. And wait, we sat down here. What did you say? We're very Charlie Rose. Is it Charlie Rose?
Yes, very Charlie Rose.
We're very round tabled.
Yeah,
Charlie Rose.
We're just going to get to the point here.
Yes, and it's. I want you to be able to tell everyone a little bit about how you came here to the States, because it is really interesting, and it is kind of the mecca of, I think, the melting pot and what we do represent here in New York City. You are what you have to offer, I think, is the heart of New York. But we all do have dreams, and I hope that we all have dreams. I hope that we all have passion projects. I do. What I'm doing now is a passion project. I think in order to accomplish anything, you have to do it. You have to just start doing it. I like to use the analogy of, if you want to run 26 miles in a New York City marathon, you better start jogging. You better start moving.
Yeah.
But there's fear involved, and it takes a lot of courage, and it's hard, and sometimes you don't want to spend the rest of your life trying to get over your childhood. And we all have our stuff. Everybody does. Heartbreak and maybe a little bit too much alcohol, or maybe a loss of somebody, avoid. I never grew up with any grandmothers. Mine were just deceased. I mean, I had a step-grandmother who was wonderful and kind, but I have a grandmother that she was gone before I was here, but never embraces you and how that affects you as a woman, right? So tell everyone a little bit how did you end up over here? What's your
Well, first of all, I just want to say, you just said a lot. that was my head is spinning right now.
Okay, sorry.
Because really, just emotionally, what you just spoke about really moved inside of me. But yes, and I think a lot of what you said definitely does relate to my experience. So as you know, I'm half black and half Korean, and I was born in Korea, and my father was in the military. He's an American black man stationed in Seoul, or around Seoul, in the Air Force for good old America. And he was a young man, and he wasn't there to raise a family. He just went there to serve his country. But I guess a man's got to have fun. And so I was, I guess, a bit of an accident. And he would...
Well, wait a second.
Yeah.
I know what you mean by accident, but I don't think that you were an accident. But I understand that you were. I get it.
Yeah.
But I just don't want you to think that you're an accident.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah. Why did I say that?
That's because I think sometimes things just aren't always intended. But when something isn't intended, doesn't mean that it isn't the most wonderful experience ever. Because I know that the love that your mother had for you was the greatest love. I mean, when you have a child, oftentimes it's what you hope for. But yeah, they're having fun, and it happened.
Yeah.
It just happened.
So I gotta break this down because, and I only talk about one little bit at a time, because when I think about my story, it's so overwhelming.
Okay,
I don't know where to start or whatever. So, but what you just said helps to break it down for me. When you just said a mother's love for the child.
Yeah.
So Korea, at the time, like late 60s, 70s, really Korea, period, even now, there are certain traditions that are very strong. And one of them is that you do not have babies with foreigners, anybody foreign.
Wow.
I mean, Japanese, if you're not Korean, you do not.
Oh my gosh.
If you're Korean, you do not make baby with anybody else other
Wow,
than
I
a
did
Korean.
not know that.
Yeah, it's my experience of it has been a pretty race purist.
Wow.
Yeah, with good reason.
Okay.
Good reason. You know, the war between China and North Korea and with Japan really left Korea crippling, and crippled, and so Koreans just hated everybody. You know,
Wow.
so they didn't want to be with anybody. So with good reason, but of course that way of living affected us, because here I am, this guy, brown skin, slightly different features, and an afro, walking through the streets of Korea.
Oh.
Like, they've never seen anything like that. I mean, if you know, I was in from one seat to the other, there's nothing but Koreans in Korea. You know, from the time I came from. So it's like to see this like anomaly, you know, which was me, just like walking through the streets, was trouble for me and for my mother.
Wow.
You know, because her family, of course, did not condone that. They condemned it. They weren't happy with that idea.
Yeah.
And so when you were saying the mother's love for the child, like how much did she love me, you know, in order to live through an entire country of people condemning her behavior to have this baby. And chances are it's not really, I don't know, I don't really know if, you know, I really don't think it was her plan to have it, you know, turn out this way, but she loved me so strongly that she was willing to risk everything that she had in order to be with me in a pretty hostile environment.
Wow.
Yeah, so that.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so
I'm almost
something
just
new
like,
came out.
I feel like I'm almost. I didn't know, so I feel like I'm almost reading a book, and like I was just so into it. Like, keep going.
Well, you know, I think also you being a mother, I think, you know, now perhaps even stronger relatedness to that story of a mother and child relationship.
Yeah, I think majority of the times, if you have a mother who is well-adjusted, sound in mind, she will absolutely do anything in the entire world to protect her child.
Yes.
There's just no doubt about it.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. That it isn't that all of your joy comes from your child, but in a way it does, because you love them so much that is your pure joy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So she, you know, listen, I mean, my mother died when I was 5 years old, as you know, and so I don't really remember, like, I didn't really know what she was thinking per se. You know, just how she was behaving, and I'm not really sure what difficulties she was faced up against. But the one thing is clear, that she loved me, and that imprint stays with me. And perhaps that's the thing that helps me to navigate through my life and navigate through the difficulties of my life with a certain amount of courage, because just knowing that deep in my heart somewhere, her love resides in me.
Right.
And I always say that's like the most important thing for a child to know, is just to
Yes,
know that they are loved. It's not they're athletically gifted, or that they're really smart, or like all the externals that we value so much. The child just needs to know that they are okay as they are.
Oh, right.
You know, because I've spent so much of my life trying to prove my value, my worth, and it's never satisfying, because even if I could prove my worth and I get the applause or whatever, it only lasts for a second.
Sure.
And then I have to chase the other one, and oftentimes I don't get the reaction that I want. You know, I mean, I could create something that I think is amazing, and people could just be like, eh. you know, and I'm like, oh my God, I did all this to have you love me, and you're just kind of like.
And I think it's interesting because I know we've had conversations about this where when you're a creative person or when maybe you're wanting to do anything that you're passionate about, I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be intrinsically artistic per se. That there's, and I remember I learned this in acting school, there's something about like kind of like the term of throwing it away, not in the sense of throwing what you're doing away, throwing the expectation away, throwing the need to have you like me away, you know. And I found oftentimes when I would book work, it's because I didn't care.
Yes.
You know, and it's kind of a funny thing where I know it's different because you're a singer, but like if you don't feel well, if you go into audition, and I don't, you know, any actor would say this, but it's like if you kind of go in and you don't feel well, and you show up and you do the work, it's when you'll book. Because you're just proud that you showed up.
Yes, yes.
You know, and I think that when you don't feel well or when you're just vulnerable, and therefore, you know, your talents and everything just kind of seeps through and everything just kind of flows because you're just trying to not be sick or to be whatever it is. You know, but to throw away the expectation of it.
Okay.
It's amazing because it's kind of, I feel like the idea of is like holding an expectation is kind of holding your hands tight. You know, if you're holding, you're like this, like I want it to be this way.
Yes.
You can't receive anything because your hands are clenched.
You limit the possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it becomes very, very narrow as opposed to, I want this to happen. This would be great, but I'm just going to have fun. Next thing you know, your hands are open and you're ready to receive.
That's right.
Then you're also ready to take somebody else's hand to partner with, to collaborate with, to enjoy.
That's right.
And we've had many conversations over many meals about like this moment. Y'all don't realize that, but we have.
Yes, we
so
have.
one day I'm going to be able to do what I love to do, and you're so great, and I want you to be able to come and be able to sing, you know?
Yes.
And that's actually what I want you to do right now.
Okay.
Fell from grace into a bed of roses. Smell was sweet, drifting in the air. But the thorns broke my serenity into paradox. I was born. Cocaine God descending from the heavens. He said, worship me, and I will take you back to grace and love. I'll forget about the pain. Roses with no thorns is alive. Hey, but isn't it funny that I'm not crazy? Oh, I walk through the fire and not get burned. Oh, I have a fever burning down my skin. And the hungry rage is still alive. Father left looking for his heaven. Mother died. I think she went to hers. Misery and pain are filling up inside of me like a waterfall overflow. Hey, but isn't it funny? I'm not crazy. Oh, I walk through the fire and not get burned. Oh, I have a fever burning down my skin, and the heart how I could laugh at all the things that used to hurt me so bad. I remember the tears, the mist in my eyes, running thick, glittering down my face. Hey, but isn't it funny? I'm not crazy. Woo! I walk through the fire and not get burned. Oh, I have a fever burning down my skin, and the hungry rage never dies. Now we're gonna just slow it down a little bit, mellow out, get a little spiritual on you. For all of those of you who want to break free from the monotony of what you're trapped in. In the end, my dear, my friend, the thoughts of God and thoughts of men will all transcend. Hypnotized and mesmerized by sight and sound and thoughts disguised as sanity. I'm sailing with the wind. I'm floating on a cloud. Set me free. Set me free. All I want is to be free. A horse can run and birds can fly, the rain can fall and babies cry, then why can't I? I'm a man, oh yes, it's true, but does that mean that I can't say I'm feeling blue just like you? I'm saying